I thought the worst betrayal was finding another woman in his bed. I was wrong. The worst pain is realizing they wrote a script to destroy you while looking you in the eye. I did not scream. I did not cry. I simply started logging every detail like a forensic audit because liars always leave a trail. It took him turning on the television and seeing me with our 2 children to finally realize that his mother was holding the strings. My name is Mara Whitlock. I am 33 years old, and I live in a quiet cul-de-sac in Fairhaven where the lawns are manicured to a uniform green. I have a habit that most people find unsettling. I write things down. It is not a diary filled with feelings or dreams. It is a log. I record dates, times, and discrepancies. I learned to do this when I was a child, growing up in a house where my parents said one thing on Tuesday and denied it on Wednesday. If you do not have a record, you do not have a reality. I work as an operations compliance specialist at Stonegate Benefits Lab. My job is entirely about finding the error in the system. I spend 40 hours a week scanning spreadsheets and contracts, looking for the decimal point that is in the wrong place or the policy clause that contradicts the law. I am good at it because I like order. I like the safety of evidence. When something goes wrong at Stonegate, I am the one they call to trace the failure back to its source. My husband is the opposite. Ethan Carver is 35 years old and works as a sales manager at Westline Mobility Group. Ethan deals in charm and possibilities. He is the kind of man who can walk into a room and make everyone feel like they are his best friend. He creates a sense of stability just by standing there. We have been married for 7 years, and we have twins, Noah and Ivy, who are 4 years old. To the outside world, we are the perfect American family. We have the SUV, the dental plan, and the weekend barbecues. But a family is a business, and I am the only one managing the books. Ethan likes the idea of a household, but he does not know the name of the twins' pediatrician. He does not know when the property tax is due. He brings home the paycheck, but I am the one who ensures the lights stay on. I did not mind this dynamic. I thought it was a partnership where our strengths balanced each other out. I was the foundation, and he was the facade. The problem was that the facade had a creator who resented the foundation. The first time I felt a true chill run down my spine was not during a fight, but during a calm explanation. Come on, Mara. My mom just wants what is best for us, Ethan said. He was standing in our kitchen, leaning against the granite counter I had paid for. He used that line every time his mother, Darla Carver, overstepped a boundary. Darla is a small woman with perfectly coiffed hair and a smile that never quite reaches her eyes. She calls me her wonderful daughter-in-law in public, but her words always carry a hidden sting. She operates with plausible deniability. Oh, Mara, are you sure you want to wear that color? It makes you look so tired, she would say before a dinner party. If I reacted, I was the sensitive one. If I ignored it, the comment lingered. The friction between us was not just a personality clash, it was ideological. Darla is obsessed with the idea that Ethan is destined for something greater than a middle management job and a mortgage in Fairhaven. She looks at me and sees an anchor. She believes I am the one keeping him ordinary with my budgets and my schedules. Ethan needs room to breathe. Mara. He has such potential, she told me once, touching my arm with a cold hand. We just need to make sure he is not being held back by unnecessary burdens. I thought I knew what she meant. I thought she was just a possessive mother who could not let go of her son. I monitored her behavior like a low-level risk at work, annoying, but manageable. I was wrong. I was looking at the small interpersonal conflicts while she was architecting a systemic collapse. Most people say their marriage ended because they fell out of love or because of a sudden event. Mine did not. My marriage was dismantled piece by piece. I often tell people that the end began with a single internal email I was never supposed to see. But the truth is, the email was just the final receipt. The transaction had been processing for months, and the person authorizing it was not just my husband. It was his mother. And she had been waiting a long time to balance the ledger in her favor. When Ethan moved into the house on Elm Street, the deed was solely in my name. I had purchased the property 3 years before our wedding, using bonuses I had meticulously saved since my mid-20s. It was my sanctuary, paid for with long nights of compliance auditing. Ethan, however, viewed the arrangement through the lens of a salesman closing a deal. It is just simple math. Mara, he said as he carried his boxes into the master bedroom. Think about the cost optimization. We stop paying rent on my apartment, and we funnel that cash into the future. Into us. I agreed because it made logical sense. I loved him. And in my mind, love was an action verb. It was not about grand gestures or poetry. It was about logistics. I was the one who ensures the engine of our lives ran without friction. I filed the joint tax returns 2 months early. I researched the best pediatricians for Noah and Ivy before they were even born. I navigated the labyrinth of health insurance deductibles so Ethan never had to sit on hold with a customer service representative. I curated a life where he simply had to show up and be the charming husband. Then, Darla began to insert herself into our administrative framework. She did not come over to help fold laundry or watch the twins so we could have a date night. She came to audit. She would sit at our kitchen island, sipping tea, watching me sort through the mail. So, who is listed as the primary beneficiary on that new policy, she asked one afternoon, her voice light and airy. I am just curious. Dear, you know how banks can be tricky. I tried to set boundaries, but Darla was fluid. She slipped past every wall I built. Her masterstroke was the convenience argument. A few months after the twins were born, she sat us down with a folder of documents she had printed herself. You two are so busy, she said, sliding a power of attorney form toward Ethan. This just lets you handle things for each other if an emergency happens. You are husband and wife. Why do you have to be so transactional? Is that the word? So separate. It hurts me to see you trusting a bank contract more than you trust your vows. Ethan looked at me, his eyes pleading. He wanted the easy route. He wanted his mother to stop nagging. He signed the paper without reading the fine print. When I hesitated, the atmosphere in the room shifted. I was no longer the prudent wife. I was the obstacle. Do you not trust me? Mara, Ethan asked. My mom is just trying to help us streamline things. After that day, Ethan's language began to change. He started using words that did not belong to him. If I reminded him to transfer his share of the utility bill, he would sigh and roll his eyes. You are being so controlling. Mara, he said one evening, laughing as if it were a joke, though his eyes remained cold. You are too rigid. You treat this marriage like a corporation. He did not see that I treated it like a corporation because I was the only one ensuring it did not go bankrupt. Darla thrived on these moments. She manufactured situations where Ethan had to choose a side. If I said we should save for a new roof, Darla would suggest a vacation and look at Ethan to break the tie. He always chose the vacation. He always chose her soft enablement over my hard reality. The balance sheet of our marriage was tilting dangerously, but the most glaring red flag came in a small, gift-wrapped box. Darla arrived one Sunday evening while I was prepping lunches for the week. She handed a sleek, black box to Ethan. Open it, she urged. It was a brand new, top-tier smartphone. Ethan's current phone was perfectly functional, paid for by our family plan. I added this to my plan, Darla said, not even looking at me. It is for your work. Ethan, I know you need privacy for those big deals you are working on. I just want my son to have the tools I believe he needs. Since Mara is so busy with her little spreadsheets. Ethan beamed, turning the device over in his hands. Thanks, Mom. Wow, this is exactly what I needed. I stood by the sink, my hands wet with dishwater. I told myself that it was just a phone. I told myself that grown men often have complicated relationships with their mothers and that I should be the bigger person. But the auditor in me knew better. A separate phone meant a separate channel of communication, a channel I could not see, a channel I could not audit. The asset column was shrinking, and the liability column was growing, but I was not yet ready to admit that the business was failing. The house began to feel smaller. It started with Darla's offer to take Noah and Ivy for 3 afternoons a week. "You look so drained." "Mara," she said, her voice dripping with artificial concern. "Let Grandma take the burden. You need to rest." It sounded generous, but it was a siege. By controlling their schedule, she controlled the rhythm of our household. When I came home, the kids were fed, bathed, and listening to stories about Daddy's big future, while I was relegated to the role of the tired woman who just paid the bills. Ethan's behavior shifted in sync with these visits. He began to parrot phrases that did not belong to him. One night, after I asked who had texted him at 11 o'clock, he slammed his phone onto the nightstand. "God, Mara, you are so suspicious," he snapped. "Mom said you have this deep-seated issue with trusting men. You are suffocating me." I stared at him. I did not have trust issues. I had pattern recognition skills. The pattern became undeniable on a Tuesday afternoon. I had come home early from Stonegate to pick up a file I had forgotten. The house was silent. I walked toward my home office, my footsteps muffled by the carpet. The door was ajar. Darla was standing at my desk. She had the drawer open, the one containing the house deed and our life insurance policies. She was holding her phone over the documents, the camera shutter clicking softly. "What are you doing?" I asked. My voice flat. She jumped, dropping the folder. She did not look guilty. She looked annoyed that she had been interrupted. "Oh, you scared me." She laughed, pressing a hand to her chest. "I was just looking for a piece of scratch paper to write down a recipe. I must have opened the wrong drawer." It was a lie so lazy it was almost an insult. 2 days later, I was reconciling our monthly expenses when I saw it. A recurring charge for $14.99 to a vendor listed as Cloud Media Backup. It was charged to our joint account. "Ethan, what is this?" I asked, pointing to the line item on the screen. He barely looked up from the television. "I don't know. Mom probably clicked something by mistake when she was using the iPad. It is less than $15. Mara, don't make it a federal case." He dismissed it, but my stomach turned. Darla did not make technical mistakes. The narrative she was spinning became clearer during Sunday dinner. "I ran into an old friend today," Darla said, casually twirling her pasta. "He is a divorce attorney now, specialized in protecting men from financial ruin. It is so scary what some women do to trap husbands these days." She looked directly at me as she took a sip of wine. "Good thing Ethan has nothing to worry about," she added, smiling. Ethan began to defer to her judgment on everything. If we argued about the grocery budget or discipline for the twins, he would retreat. "I can't deal with your intensity right now," he would say, grabbing his keys. "I'm going to let Mom talk some sense into you." I was no longer his partner. I was a problem to be managed by his mother. But the moment that forced me to open a new file on my laptop happened a week later. I was in the hallway, about to enter the kitchen, when I heard Darla on her cell phone. Her voice was low, stripped of its usual sugary coating. "No, not yet," she hissed. "We wait. Just let her expose herself. When she snaps, we will have everything. I just need the right timing." I froze. She was not just meddling. She was hunting. I went upstairs and opened a blank spreadsheet. I named it Log. I created columns: date, time, event, witness. Manipulation hates the light, so I decided to document every shadow. The first entry went in that very evening. My phone buzzed with a message from Darla. It was a screenshot of our joint savings account balance, which had dipped because I paid the property tax. Her text underneath was short, just checking in on the numbers. "Sweetie, seems low. I am watching out for you both." It was not advice. It was a threat. She was watching, indeed. And now, so was I. I sat on the floor of the living room with my laptop open. The router interface on my screen showed 12 connected devices. There should have been 11. I traced the unknown MAC address to a device labeled Generic Smart Home. I stood up and scanned the room. It took me 4 minutes to find it. Tucked between 2 encyclopedias on the high shelf was a small black lens. It was a camera. I waited for Ethan to come home. When he walked in, I pointed to the shelf. "Why is there a camera in our living room?" "Ethan?" I asked. He did not even blink. He took off his coat and tossed it onto the sofa. "Oh, that Mom put it in yesterday. She said she misses the twins during the day and just wanted to check in on them. You know, watch them play." I looked at the shelf. The camera was not pointed at the rug where Noah and Ivy built their block towers. It was angled sharply downward, focused directly on my mahogany writing desk and the wall safe behind it. "Ethan, that camera is not looking at the children," I said, my voice steady. "It is looking at my financial records. You are paranoid, Mara." He laughed, shaking his head. "It is just a wide angle. Mom is not a spy. She is a grandmother who loves her family. Why do you always have to make it so ugly?" I did not argue. Instead, I logged into the camera's default gateway. The administrative email was not Ethan's. It was a string of random characters linked to a domain I did not recognize. Someone else had the keys to my living room. I checked my log. The device had been activated on Tuesday afternoon, the same day Darla had insisted on staying late to help clean. Every time she was in my house, my digital perimeter changed. The digital isolation escalated the next day. I tried to check Ethan's location to see if he had picked up the dry cleaning. His icon on the map was gray. Location sharing was disabled. "My phone is acting up," he said when I asked. "This new one Mom got me is glitchy. I will figure it out later." He never figured it out. He just disappeared from the map. The attack moved from my home to my livelihood on Thursday. I was in the break room at Stonegate when a colleague, a quiet woman named Jenna from HR, touched my elbow. "Mara, I shouldn't tell you this," she whispered, looking around. "But someone called the main line yesterday. They asked for the protocol regarding employees with severe psychological instability. They dropped your name." My blood ran cold. In a small town like Fairhaven, a question like that was not an inquiry. It was a headline. I went home early, my mind racing. I walked into the home office to print a return label. There was already a document in the output tray. It was a single page, warm to the touch. I picked it up. It was titled Incident Report. I read the text. It described an event from 2 nights ago. Subject was screaming uncontrollably, throwing ceramic plates, and exhibiting violent mood swings in the presence of minors. I looked at the date. 2 nights ago, I had been reading Goodnight Moon to the twins and had gone to bed at 9:30. There were no broken plates. There was no screaming. I looked at the bottom of the page. It was signed by a witness, Linda Halloway. Linda was Darla's best friend and tennis partner. My instinct was to rip the paper to shreds and scream at Ethan. But that would have given them exactly what they wanted, a crazy woman. Instead, I took my phone out. I photographed the document in the tray to prove it was printed in my house. I photographed the timestamp. I placed the paper back exactly where I found it. I was not a victim. I was an investigator building a case file. The final warning came that evening. My personal cell phone rang from a blocked number. "We know you are not stable," a distorted voice said. "You are a danger to those kids. It is only a matter of time before you hurt someone." The line went dead. They were not accusing me of abuse because I had done it. They were planting the seed so that when they took my children away, the neighbors would nod and say they saw it coming. I saved the voicemail and backed it up to 3 different hard drives. They wanted a breakdown. I gave them a backup. "I think we should take a break." "Just for a few weeks," Ethan said, refusing to look me in the eye. He was standing in the kitchen, turning his wedding ring round and round on his finger. "You need time to get your head straight. You are so intense lately. It is like living with a ticking bomb." He was using her words. I had heard Darla say ticking bomb on the phone 3 days prior. Before I could respond with a logical defense, the doorbell rang. It was Darla. She did not knock. She just breezed in with a casserole dish and a look of practiced pity. "Oh, Mara, you look dreadful," she cooed, setting the dish on the counter. "Ethan told me you were struggling. Why don't I take Noah and Ivy for a few days? You clearly need to decompress." A mother cannot pour from an empty cup. Right. She was framing my eviction from my own children as an act of mercy. If I refused, I was the ungrateful, stressed mother who put her ego above her children's well-being. If I agreed, I was admitting I could not handle my own life. "The children are fine." "Darla," I said, keeping my voice level. "And so am I." "Are you?" she asked, tilting her head. "Because Ethan says you are barely holding it together." The attack on my home front was synchronized with an attack on my career. On Monday morning, the director of operations at Stonegate Benefits Lab called me into his office. He did not ask me to sit down. "Mara, we flagged an outgoing transmission from your residential IP address at 10:45 on Saturday night," he said, sliding a report across the glass desk. It contained internal client data. "You know the protocol regarding off-hours data transfer." My heart hammered against my ribs, but my face remained stone. I did not send that email. I was in bed by 10 o'clock on Saturday. Then I remembered. Darla had been over for dinner. "Ethan, be a dear and unlock Mara's computer," she had asked while I was loading the dishwasher. "I just need to print a coupon for the zoo. My phone is dead." Ethan had typed in my password. I had thought nothing of it. I looked at my boss. I did not plead. I did not cry. I did not authorize that transmission. I said, "If you check the keystroke logs and the user session duration, you will see that the file was attached and sent within 40 seconds of login. I do not work that fast. That was a transfer, not a work session. I am requesting a full IT audit of that time frame." My boss nodded, but the damage was done. The rumor that Mara has issues now had a companion rumor: Mara is a security risk. The pieces were locking together. They were not just trying to make me look like a bad wife, they were trying to make me unemployable. When I got home, Ethan was waiting. He looked emboldened, likely by another pep talk from his mother. "You are exhausting me, Mara," he said, pacing the living room. "I can't live like this. I think I should take over the joint accounts. Just for a while, for transparency. You are too emotional to handle the finances right now." "Emotional," I repeated. "I am the only one who knows how to balance the ledger." "Ethan, see, that is what I mean," he shouted, throwing his hands up. "You are so territorial." Later that night, while Ethan was in the shower, his iPad lit up on the nightstand. It was a calendar notification synced from his new work phone. "Appointment Law Offices of P. Sterling, Thursday, 2 o'clock. I tapped the details. The notes section was filled out in Darla's handwriting style, likely forwarded to him. Topic: custody strategy, asset protection, spousal instability documentation. I put the iPad down. My hands were not shaking. A cold clarity washed over me. This was not a marriage hitting a rough patch. This was a hostile takeover. They did not just want a divorce. They wanted to destroy my reputation so completely that when they stripped me of my children and my house, the world would applaud them for doing it. Ethan was the face of the operation, but Darla was the CEO, and she had just made a critical error she assumed I would break before I figured out how to fight back. The party was not a celebration. It was an occupation. Darla had arranged the gathering to celebrate Ethan being considered for a promotion, but she had done it in my living room without asking me. She invited his boss, his colleagues, and half the neighborhood. I felt like a caterer in my own home. Earlier that afternoon, I had received a fraud alert on our joint credit card, a charge for $350 at a boutique gift shop. I saw the box sitting on the entry table later. It was a watch for Ethan, tagged from Mara and the kids. I had not bought it. Darla had used my money to stage a moment of perfect family unity, scripting me as the devoted wife just before she planned to cut me out of the picture. I stood near the kitchen island, holding a tray of appetizers I had not prepared. I watched Darla holding court with Ethan's regional director. She touched his arm lightly, leaning in with a conspiratorial whisper. "Oh, we are all just walking on eggshells around Mara lately," I heard her say, her voice pitched just loud enough to carry, "She has these moods. I worry about Ethan. He is such a saint to handle it." Ethan was standing across the room. Darla walked over to him, placed a hand on his shoulder, and whispered something into his ear. He stiffened. He looked at the guests, then at his mother, and finally at me. It was not the look of a husband. It was the look of a man seeing a stranger he had been warned about. He walked over to me, guiding me into the hallway away from the noise. "I think it is best if you leave for a few days," he said. His voice was low, but it lacked any warmth. "Mom says you are making the kids anxious. You are stressing everyone out with your negative energy." He was not accusing me of abuse. He was accusing me of being a psychological burden. He was rewriting the atmosphere of our home to make me the intruder. I did not scream. I did not cause the scene they were so clearly hoping for. I looked him dead in the eye. "Did you just say, 'Whose house?'" I asked. Ethan blinked, caught off guard by my lack of emotion. Before he could answer, Darla appeared at his elbow. She smiled, a sad, pitying smile that made my skin crawl. "Now, Mara, don't make this difficult," she said softly. "Ethan just needs peace. You should go to a hotel. Just sign a few papers regarding the temporary arrangement and rest. We will handle everything." She wanted me to flee. She wanted me to look erratic. "Excuse me," I said. I turned and walked up the stairs. I did not go to the bedroom to pack a suitcase of clothes. I went to my office. I opened the fireproof drawer. I took the original deed to the house, which clearly stated my name as the sole owner. I took the file containing the camera logs, the photos of the fake incident report, and the printed timeline of the unauthorized IT breach. I put them all into my large leather tote bag. I walked into the twins' room. Noah and Ivy were playing quietly with Legos. They looked up, smiling. "Mommy is going to take you for a ride," I said calmly. "We are going to have a sleepover." They cheered. There was no stress. There was no anxiety. I led them downstairs, holding a hand in each of mine. The party went silent as we walked through the living room. Ethan started to step forward, but Darla held him back. She looked triumphant. She thought I was running away in shame. I stopped at the door and turned to face them. "I will give you space," I said, my voice clear enough for his boss to hear. "But I will not give you the story of my life." I opened the door and walked out. I buckled the children into their car seats, checking the straps twice. I got into the driver's seat and locked the doors. As I backed out of the driveway, I saw Darla watching from the window. She thought she had won. She thought she had exiled me. She did not realize that by sending me away, she had just released the auditor from the building, and I had taken all the evidence with me. I checked into a standard suite at the Marriott using loyalty points I had accumulated over 5 years of business travel. I did not use a credit card that Ethan could track. The twins were asleep in the pull-out bed, exhausted from the adventure. I sat at the small desk, opened my laptop, and did what I do best. I audited the situation. I created a new spreadsheet. I labeled the columns date, actor, action, evidence, and legal risk. I was not crying. I was processing data. First, I secured the perimeter. I reset the passwords for my bank accounts, my email, and my cloud storage. I turned off location services on all my devices. Then, I drafted an email to the IT department at Stonegate Benefits Lab. I am formally requesting a traffic analysis for my user ID between the hours of 9 p.m. and midnight on Saturday. I wrote, I can provide biometric data proving I was not at the keyboard. Please treat this as a priority security ticket. Next. I went on the offensive, but I did it through the proper channels. I knew Ethan used the phone Darla gave him for work, and I knew he connected it to our home network, the same network Darla had compromised with her cameras. I sent an anonymous compliance tip to the security division of Westline Mobility Group. To the security officer, I am reporting a potential breach involving an unencrypted device on a residential network broadcasting sensitive client data. The IP address is as follows. I hit send. It was not petty. It was a reportable risk. My phone began to buzz incessantly. It was Darla, Mara. Please pick up. Her text read, We are so worried about the children. People are talking. Don't make us call the police about a kidnapping. She was trying to spin the narrative that I had abducted my own children. I did not reply with text. I simply opened my gallery, selected the photo of the house deed, the one that clearly showed Mara Whitlock as the sole owner, and hit send. I added no caption. The buzzing stopped immediately. She knew that if she called the police to my house, I could have her removed for trespassing. The next morning, I met with a family attorney named Joyce, a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper suit. They are going to say you are unstable, Joyce said, reviewing my file. They will use your departure against you. They will say you fled. I did not flee, I corrected her. I removed my children from a hostile environment. Here is the log of the verbal abuse and the surveillance. I slid the printed photos of the camera and the fake incident report across the table. Joyce smiled, a thin, dangerous smile. Do not disconnect that camera, she advised. If they are recording, let them record. Just make sure you control the storage. That afternoon, I logged into the cloud media backup service. I finally had the time to trace the payment. It was being billed to my secondary credit card, the one I rarely checked. I was paying $14.99 a month to surveil myself. I did not cancel the account. That would alert Darla. Instead, I went into the billing settings. I removed my credit card and replaced it with a prepaid Visa gift card I had bought at a pharmacy. It had a balance of exactly $1.50. The account would remain active just long enough for me to download the access logs and the list of authorized administrators, and then it would fail quietly due to insufficient funds, locking them out without a notification. I downloaded the admin list. There were 2 emails, one was a gibberish string, and the other belonged to a local media production company. I saved the file. Finally, I drafted the document that would draw the line in the sand. It was a formal notice of no contact. To Ethan Carver and Darla Carver, I typed, all future communication regarding the children will be conducted through legal counsel. Any attempt to approach me or the children without prior written consent will be considered harassment. I sent it via certified mail and email. I blocked their numbers. I looked at the spreadsheet one last time. The legal risk column was filling up, but for the first time, the risk was not mine. It was theirs. The email address listed as the administrator for the surveillance account was not a random string of characters. It was a corporate address. The domain belonged to Fairhaven Media Group. A quick cross-reference with professional networking sites confirmed my suspicion. The director of production at Fairhaven Media Group was Linda Halloway. She was Darla's tennis partner and the same woman who had signed the fake incident report claiming I threw plates. I navigated through the cloud folder structure before my prepaid card ran out of funds. I found a subfolder titled Project Reclamation. Inside, there were no raw video files. There were edits. I clicked on a file named Mother Loses Control, Final Cut. The video played. It showed me standing in the kitchen, shouting, "Stop it. You are going to get hurt." I yelled on the screen, my face twisted in anger. The clip ended there. What the editor had surgically removed was the context seconds before that shout. Noah had been running toward the hot oven with a pair of sharp scissors. They had cut out the danger to the child and left only the mother's rage. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. I realized then that Darla did not just want Ethan to leave me. She wanted to erase me. She wanted full custody. She wanted to take Noah and Ivy and scrub the name Whitlock from their identities, returning them to the Carver dynasty she was so obsessed with preserving. I dug deeper into the legal subfolder. I found a PDF document. It was a pre-filled affidavit. Susan Gable, hereby testify that I have witnessed Mrs. Whitlock exhibiting erratic behavior. Susan Gable was my next-door neighbor. Last week, I had seen Darla taking Susan out for an expensive dinner at the Oakhurst Grill. The affidavit was dated for next Monday. They were buying witnesses before the trial even began. My phone buzzed. It was a text from a mother in Ivy's preschool class. Hey, Mara. Is everything okay? Darla just called the school office. She asked for the class contact list and told the receptionist she is the primary guardian. Now, I thought I should let you know. My hand tightened around the phone. She was planting the flag before she had conquered the territory. But the most painful discovery was in the financial folder. I found a scanned letter from the Carver Family Trust. It was addressed to Ethan. Subject: conditional disbursement. The terms were explicit. Ethan was set to receive an investment injection of $200,000 for his business ventures, contingent upon the finalization of separation and establishment of a primary residence independent of the current spouse. Ethan was not leaving me because he was stressed. He was not leaving me because his mother whispered in his ear. He was leaving me because he had been bribed. Our marriage had a price tag, and Darla had written the check. I was about to close the laptop when I saw one last file. It was a calendar confirmation. Booking morning rise with Fairhaven. Guest Ethan Carver. Topic: family resilience, a father's fight. The date was set for tomorrow morning. The plan was perfect. Darla was not going to let this play out in family court behind closed doors. She was going to put Ethan on local television. She was going to interview him as the heroic single father who saved his children from a mentally unstable wife. They were going to use the edited clips. They were going to present the fake affidavits as facts. They were going to convict me in the court of public opinion before I even had a chance to hire a defense attorney. I sat back in the hotel chair. Most people would have panicked. Most people would have called the station screaming and threatening to sue, which would only prove that I was unhinged. I did not do that. I looked at the metadata on the video files. I had the original timestamps showing the edits. I had the IP logs showing Linda Halloway uploaded the clips. I had the invoice for the cloud backup paid for by my own credit card initially. You want to tell a story? I whispered to the empty hotel room. Then, let's make sure you tell the whole truth. I was not going to stop the interview. I was going to let them set the stage, turn on the lights, and invite the audience. And then, I was going to walk in with the unedited footage. Revenge is not about making noise. It is about handing the liar a microphone and waiting for them to choke on their own script. I initiated the counterattack at 8 o'clock in the morning. I did not call Ethan, and I certainly did not call Darla. Instead, I contacted a high-profile civil litigation attorney and a certified digital forensics expert. I handed them my hard drive and my credit card. I need you to authenticate the metadata on these video logs. I told the expert, I need proof that these files were edited by a third party and uploaded from an IP address that does not match my home network. While the expert worked, my attorney sent a formal preservation letter to Fairhaven Media Group and the cloud storage service provider. The subject line was stark notice of pending litigation, preservation of evidence required. This legal maneuver froze them in place. If Linda Halloway or Darla tried to delete the edit history or the access logs now, it would be considered spoliation of evidence, a felony that would destroy their defense before we even stepped into a courtroom. I knew Darla was moving fast. She had booked Ethan for the Morning Rise segment to cement his status as the victim. They expected me to be hiding in a motel room, disheveled and frantic, reinforcing their story that I had abandoned the marriage. They did not expect me to be strategic. I checked the community calendar. The local television station was covering a library fundraising event immediately following the studio segment. It was a live broadcast titled Reading for the Future, and it was open to the public. I went online and registered myself, Noah and Ivy, as volunteer participants. I was not going to hide in the shadows while they assassinated my character. I was going to step into the light, right where they could not touch me without witnesses. I spent the afternoon assembling what I called the kill packet. I bought a crisp, navy blue binder. Inside, I placed the certified copy of the house deed, the credit card statements showing the payments for the surveillance service, the printed IP logs, the letter from the attorney, and a USB drive containing the unedited footage. Then, my phone chimed with a message from an unknown number. It was an audio file. The text underneath read simply, "She talks too much when she has had 2 glasses of wine." Good luck. I played the file. It was Darla's voice, unmistakable and slurring slightly, likely recorded at a country club lunch. "I do not care if she is a good mother. Susan, I just need her to..." Snap. Just one time. If we get her screaming on tape, the judge will give Ethan everything. I am tired of begging for access to my own grandchildren. I felt a cold rage settle in my chest, but I did not let it surface. I saved the file to 3 different clouds. This was the smoking gun. It proved intent. It proved malice. I stood in front of the hotel mirror and practiced. I did not practice a speech. I practiced my silence. I smoothed my hair. I checked my expression. I needed to look like a woman who had nothing to hide. I needed to look like the director of compliance, not the scorned wife. Ethan called me at 6 o'clock in the evening. "Mara." "Where are you?" His voice sounded thin, stretched tight by anxiety. "Mom says you are keeping the kids from me to hurt me. She says this is parental alienation." He was reading from a script. I could hear the hesitation in his pauses. "I am not keeping them from you." "Ethan," I said, my voice steady, "we are at the library fundraiser tomorrow. You are welcome to come say hello." In front of everyone. I don't know if I can," he stammered. "Mom thinks we should not meet until you are stable." "I am stable, Ethan," I replied. "I am the only one in this marriage who has not been bribed." There was a long silence on the other end. "What do you mean?" he whispered. "Check your email." "Ethan, I sent you a copy of the trust fund offer Darla hid in your inbox. $200,000. That is the price of your family." I hung up before he could respond. I sent him one final text message to create a permanent record. "You can see the children in public, with witnesses present. All other communication goes through my attorney. Do not come to the hotel." I closed the binder. I knew exactly how tomorrow would play out. Darla thought the battlefield was the courtroom, or the living room. She was wrong. She had chosen to use the media to destroy me, so I would use the media to dismantle her. The moment of truth would not happen in private. It would happen live, in high definition, and I was ready for my close-up. The red light on the camera turned on at 9 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting on a bright orange beanbag chair in the center of the public library, reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar to a circle of captivated toddlers. Noah and Ivy sat on either side of me. They were laughing and pointing at the pictures. They looked clean, happy, and undeniably loved. This was the image Darla had tried to destroy, and now it was being beamed live into every living room in Fairhaven. I knew exactly where Ethan was. He was sitting in Darla's pristine living room. She had undoubtedly turned on the television to watch the interview she had arranged for him. The one where he was supposed to play the hero father saving his children from a frantic mother. Instead, she saw me. I was not hiding in a motel room. I was not screaming at a wall. I was leading a community fundraiser. The reporter turned to me with a microphone, smiling warmly. "Mrs. Whitlock, you seem so composed amidst the rumors circulating in town," she said. "Do you have a message for families who feel misunderstood?" I looked directly into the lens. I imagined Darla's face on the other side of the screen. "The truth does not need to scream," I said. My voice steady and clear. It just needs the right data. That sentence hit its target. As Ethan later admitted to me, the cognitive dissonance in that moment cracked the foundation of his mother's lies. He looked at the screen, seeing his wife and children safe and respected by the community. And then he looked at his mother. If I was the dangerous, unstable woman described in her affidavits, why was I surrounded by teachers and neighbors? Why were the children clinging to me with smiles instead of fear? Then came the digital aftershock. Minutes after the segment ended, the preservation order my attorney had filed triggered an automated compliance notice to all involved parties. A notification hit Ethan's email, confirming that the video files labeled "Mother Loses Control" had been modified by an internal user account at Fairhaven Media Group, an account linked directly to Linda Halloway's workstation. Ethan stood up in that living room. The script was broken. "Mom, you said she was crazy," he said, his voice trembling. "You said the video proved it." Darla tried to pivot. She reached for his hand, her eyes filling with fake tears. "I did it for you, Ethan. I just wanted to secure your future," she pleaded. "You don't understand what a mother will do for her son." But he finally understood. It was not love. It was a hostile takeover of his life. He pulled his hand away and walked out the door. We met 2 hours later at a coffee shop on Main Street. I did not come alone. Joyce, my attorney, sat beside me as a witness. Ethan looked smaller than I had ever seen him. He reached out as if to touch my hand, but I pulled back. I slid the navy blue binder across the table. "This is the log of every time your mother entered our home without permission," I said. "These are the invoices for the surveillance she set up using my credit card. And this is the voice memo where she admits she wanted to provoke me to get custody." Ethan read the pages. His face went pale. He realized he had been a pawn in a game designed to strip him of his wife and isolate his children. I didn't know," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Mara, I am so sorry. I thought she was helping. Ignorance is not a defense when you are a father." "Ethan," I replied, "you let her write the story. Now you have to read the ending." He signed the temporary separation agreement right there. It stipulated that he would move into an apartment, not his mother's house. It established a rigid visitation schedule. And most importantly, it mandated that all communication between us would happen via a court-monitored parenting app. The fallout for Darla was swift. The preservation notice turned into a criminal complaint regarding digital harassment and defamation. Linda Halloway was fired from Fairhaven Media Group before the end of the business day to save the station's reputation. The segment Darla had orchestrated became the evidence that destroyed her credibility. I returned to the house on Elm Street that evening. The first thing I did was call a locksmith. I watched him change the tumblers on the front door. Then, I climbed the ladder and reset the living room camera. I changed the admin password to a string of characters only I knew. I sat down at my desk and opened my spreadsheet one last time. I typed into the final row, "Status secure. Access rights permanently revoked." My phone vibrated on the desk. It was a text from Ethan. "I miss you. I am so sorry. Can we just talk?" I looked at the message. Then I looked at Noah and Ivy, who were sleeping soundly in their room, safe from the woman who viewed them as property. I did not reply. I turned the phone off. The audit was complete. The liabilities were removed, and for the first time in years, the ledger was balanced. The story belonged to me now. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I would love to know where you are tuning in from, so please leave a comment down below to share your thoughts and connect with others. Don't forget to subscribe to the Victoria Revenge Stories channel, like this video, and hit that hype button to help this story reach even more people.